October is Healthy Lung Month, and more than 100,000 Americans are living with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, also known as IPF. With me now to discuss it is Dr. Emery Noth with the University of Chicago and Dan Kastner, who was diagnosed with IPF in 2012. Good morning to you, gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us, what is idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, or IPF?
Well, idiopathic just means a scarring disease of the lung for reasons that we don't understand.
So why does it tend to go undiagnosed for so long, or even misdiagnosed?
Well, because the primary complaint is really shortness of breath and cough, and those are really common problems with a lot of possibilities. And so what usually happens, not inappropriately, is that the patient gets worked up for things like heart failure or emphysema or asthma long before they get the CT scan that shows the scarring going on in the lung.
So Dan, tell us about your diagnosis or your journey with IPF and how you're maintaining it.
Well, as you mentioned, in 2012, early part of 2012, I went to Lake Tahoe at 8,000 feet. I went for a hike with my wife and my child, and immediately as we started the hike, I was gasping for air. I was very confused, very worried. I went back to the car and sat there and waited for them to complete the hike. Went down to where I lived at zero elevation and had an evaluation, a CT scan, and I was diagnosed with IPF at that time.
So you were not misdiagnosed, you were actually diagnosed correctly the first time.
Absolutely, I was. And it was interesting because I had lived, obviously I've had this for a while, but I didn't notice it until I did something traumatic, or dramatic is, well, 8,000 feet to be exact. I had previously, still I was doing a lot of exercising on my bike and a lot of hiking. And I attributed any loss of breath, which wasn't very noticeable at that time, to aging. And that was something that people should realize, especially after 50, 60 years old. If you feel like you're not breathing as well, we all do this, and I'd suggest to go and see a pulmonologist or a doctor and say, hey, I'm not feeling as well as I used to. Or able to breathe as freely as I used to.
So you weren't thinking that when you had this episode that it was COPD or asthma? You just thought it was just attributed to your age?
Well, and the previous year or months as I was slowing down, but immediately when I got hit up at 8,000 feet, I knew it was something bad. I didn't know what it was, but I knew this wasn't common. I knew that it was serious, and I could not breathe. It was scary, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it sounds pretty scary. Dr. Noth, where can our viewers go if they'd like more information on this?
Well, there's a lot of information out there now at the pulmonaryfibrosis.org or the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation website or the Coalition for Pulmonary Fibrosis, or talking to your doctor.
Okay, excellent advice. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and just giving us a little bit more information about this.